Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartinsReels, and today we're going to be working on this clipper model number 36 made by Compac. It's a Japanese, it was made in Japan, and it's got several problems. Number one problem is the handle is bent. It kind of points in. We'll adjust that when we get down to the end if everything else works. We'll see if we can't get the handle done. It's got a kind of a unique handle. This handle has a screw thread right here on the end that you loosen up, and it drops it in so that it can't get broken. Somehow it still managed to get bent during all that. You could also tuck it over this way, whichever way you wanted to put it. And then when you're ready to use it, you tighten the nut back down and it's ready to go. This reel is very tight. The anti-reverse does not disengage. I'm not real sure how this works on this. We're going to be taking it apart. I believe that this reel is intended to be able to use left or right wind, and I think that's what this mechanism does right here, is it changes as you rotate it. It's supposed to change the direction of wind, and right now it's not doing anything. We've got our drag up here. Let's see if we have any drag or if we can adjust the drag any. Let's put it on more drag. Oh yeah, definitely has drag. The biggest problem that we have, even more so than the cracked handle, if you notice, let me show you why I want to change this knob. Okay, see right there? See how it's split? Well, that's not going to last very long that way. And I think I have some of these, and if you look right down in the end, this actually has a screw slot, and I'm hoping that we can pull that screw out and remove that handle and put a new knob on there. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll find out. All right. Okay, the biggest problem that this reel has is this click button right here is broken, and there's nothing to push inside there in order to cast. So it does function. It works if you want to take a screwdriver and push it in there. It will work, but I happen to have various assortments of click buttons that are of the same basic style of that one. It's got the pin at the top, and I'm hoping that one of these will be a valid replacement for it. None of them are exactly what I see on eBay on the Clipper reels, so it's not going to be authentic, but hopefully it's going to work. One of these screws in this is not original, and I'm going to guess that it's this Phillips screw right here. It's standard over here. It seems to be okay. I would believe that it's original. Let's go ahead and see if we can remove the handle. All right, that came off okay. Is there a washer? No, there's no washer there. All right, we're set the handle nut over here along with the handle. All right, we're going to remove the cover. There we go. And we've got a rather large nut on the rotor, or if you're from the Zebco world, the spinner cap. Let's see if I have a wrench over here that will fit that. There we go. That's going to be a 14 millimeter. I've got a longer handle 14 millimeter here. We're going to use that. All right. That easily took the nut off. Unscrew the nut. And let's take the rotor off. Let's look underneath. Okay, nothing under there seems to be broke. It is dirty and unlubricated, but it doesn't look like there's any problems there. So that's good. We have a gear teeth assembly here, and I don't understand what that's about, because I don't see anything in there that would ratchet on that. But let's go ahead and take the E-clip off. It slides right out. Now the rotor comes up. Okay, we have a rather large felt drag washer. It appears to be felt. It's brass on one side and felt on the other side. All right. So that drag washer is going to sit on the bottom. Okay, that's what that is. Notice the clicker here that we've got. That's going to ride on the clicker here for the drag. which is right here. Here it is. The clicker for the drag. It's not broke off. I just saw something sliding around in there. Okay, no, it doesn't appear to be broken. Okay, so let's slide that in place and I'll show you how that's going to work. This reel is reversible. Now, that clicker tip is broken off. And I've got no way to replace that, I don't believe. I will have to see what I can do about that. But the clicker's supposed to have a tip right here. Right there. There's supposed to be a tip on that. It's supposed to ride on this gear. And when you reverse this to make it left hand or right hand, it's reversible either way. All right. Let's take that off. We got a screw up here for the drag. Well, it don't want to move. But it does screw in and out with the drag knob, so we're going to let it be. Okay, now I got to figure out if I can come up with something for that. Okay, let's go ahead now and take off this side cover plate. Hopefully we can get the screws out. And that's a bigger hope than you might think. Let's get a different size screwdriver. Try it again. I'm not sure if that was due to corrosion or due to somebody really over torquing that screw. I'm going to see if I got a screw in my collection box. It's got a better head than that. And now I also have the Phillips to take out. Well, now, wait a minute. Okay. All right, I see. This is going to have a sleeve that slides through up here. And that just screws right on the end. I'm going to see if I've got a replacement screw for that one. And now we're going to take out the one that's also wrong, the Phillips. One way or another, I hope that when this goes back together, it's going to have two matching screws. Whether they both be Phillips or they both be standard. All right, now the side cover comes off. With that done, now this side's going to want to drop out. Okay, when it drops out, that now releases that switch lever. Okay, so now we have to find one that will fit in there, activate the switch, not fly up in the air, and let's see what we can find. Try this one first. Okay, and that one is the wrong shape. He's a no-go. Let's try this one. This one appears to be basically the same switch. This one can be pulled up, but it doesn't want to go up, so it kind of naturally tries to stay. It looks very similar to the original. That might be our keeper right there. I'll set him over here. All right. So after going through all this, this appears to be the switch we're going to use. And it's not going to be a perfect match, but will it get this old compact or old clipper back up and running? Yes, it will. Will we have a drag clicker? No, it doesn't look like we're going to have a drag clicker. It doesn't look like there's going to be anything I can do about that. Okay, this reel is very stiff, so we're going to pull this out. Drop it out the side over here. And now we come this way. Very stiff, very dirty. Well, there's a thought. See how they use these springs in here for this clicker? This is an anti-reverse clicker, or it appears to be. Yeah. Well, we might be able to use a spring inside of here on that post, on that screw that they gave us. We might be able to attach a spring on there and accomplish the same thing with a little spring. All right, this is very dirty and it's very stiff. Can't even tell which way it's supposed to move. There it goes. Okay. So let's start off by applying a little penetrant into here. Wow, this is very gritty. It's like this anti-reverse assembly has been drug around in the dirt and grass. Okay, let's try to scrub it up a little bit. See if we can get some of the dirt and grease out of it. You know, actually, it doesn't feel like there's any grease. It feels like it's all just dirt. All right, we're gonna take a really good close look at this. I think I'm gonna have to take these two screws out right here in order to loosen this up enough to get the sand and grit out. Okay, there's a spring in there. There's that spring. Okay, there's that side. Okay, you wouldn't hardly believe how gritty this feels. Let's see if we can rinse some of this out. Okay, I'm trying to understand the mechanics of how this is supposed to work. All right, got it figured out. All right, this is going to be difficult to see. But if you look down in this hole and this hole, when this is turning, hopefully you'll be able to see it. One side's going to open and the other side's going to close as this rotates around. The ball bearing moves. The ball bearing is just a detent. It's the opening and closing of that hole here and here that move these arms up and down. And the arms are spring loaded so that they can pop up and down, and that's what gives us our reverse and anti-reverse. So we're going to go ahead, get this cleaned up, and put these pieces back in, and hopefully you'll be able to see how it works. Now when this rotates, one side should come up. There, see how this side comes up? Let's bring it up. And as you rotate this, one side will come up like that. So that's anti-reverse that way. And as you rotate it, it comes back down. Now the other side goes up. Okay? And when you're in the middle, nobody reverses. Okay. So let's slide this gear in. Clean it off a little bit. Okay. Either my projects are becoming progressively more difficult, or I'm out of practice. And I think they're just more difficult. Anyway, what I want to talk about today, hang on, I'm going to change the light. Okay, All right, what we're going to work on this is our anti-reverse mechanism, and this thing really kicked my tail because I had to figure out how it worked. Okay, first off, this knob right here selects your anti-reverse, whether you want to go one way or the other. Had to be kind of careful with it because the knob is cracked in several places, and I didn't want to break it off the rest of the way. I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, and some of this stuff just does not want to come off. Let me try one last little screwdriver around the edge here. But I did get all the dirt and the grit out so that it now functions. It didn't work before, and now it's functional. We turn it this way. That's for a left-hand wind. And if we rotate it around the other way, like so, that's for a right-hand wind. Okay, that's our anti-reverse. I did manage to find 2 replacement screws for the 2 that were on top. I've got those. I've got this cleaned up. I spent a lot of time getting this anti-reverse synchronized. What had happened, these plates down in here, I'm going to take this off so you can see. All right, these are our anti-reverse plates, and as we turn this knob over here, one of these plates or the other will go up. See that? This one went up this time, and it's hitting on a lever right here. The levers were bent back on both sides so they weren't lifting this. There's a ball bearing you see in here, and you might get sidetracked by that ball bearing thinking that it is actually switching something. It isn't. It's just a detent. It switches it in and out. Okay, so this, as it rotates around, that ball bearing will go to each place and it locks it in as a detent so that it doesn't move. When you're in this straight across position like this, you have no anti-reverse. It's freewheeling. All right, and this thing is designed to be used so that this can mount on either this side of the reel, or you can take it out and mount it on the other side. If you've ever worked on a Johnson Century or Citation, they're very similar in design. All right, and that's what that does. And they even use the plates similar to this. All right, so we're going to put this back together. We are going to oil this axle shaft, or main shaft. Slide it in. I've already cleaned all these parts. I spent a lot of time cleaning all this up. Okay, once that's on, I'm going to go ahead and install this handle. Now, I didn't clean the handle yet, just a second. All right, as I showed you at the beginning, this handle was bent, and it still is. I haven't straightened it out yet, but we're going to go ahead and put it on here so that it holds the main gear in. All right, and we're going to go ahead and grease that. And we're also going to place a little bit of grease back here on this anti-reverse. Make it operate a little smoother. Still going to click, but it'll be a little smoother. All right, we're in the neutral position right now. We'll go ahead and change it over. And we are in the right-handed position now. And that's how we're going to reassemble the reel, is for the right-hand position. All right. And let's start the assembly. We're going to start off with this guy and our axle shaft. Here's our axle shaft. It's been cleaned. Did we clean? No, we haven't cleaned inside here yet. I spent a lot of time on the handle and on that anti-reverse. Not nearly as much as I should have on the cleaning yet. Okay, so that's clean. This is ready to go back on. There's our ramp right here. This is what drops the spinner head or rotor back down, is this ramp right here. That plastic piece inside the spinner head here, it's going to jump up and it will ride on the top of this, and once it comes around to the side, it's going to drop down, and then that will push it out to the side and it'll allow it to drop down. All right. Now, one thing we talked about earlier, I'm going to leave it in this position for a minute. Remember the clicker, plastic clicker that was here that was broken? Well, I have replaced it with a metal spring clicker. Now, this doesn't operate very often, only when the drag is in operation. So it's not like it's going to get a whole lot of use, but at least now we have reestablished the click back into this. All right. So let's grease our axle shaft. Now push it down here, put some grease up under the head, like so, and then operate it a few times, make sure it's free flowing, and it is. Oil the axle shaft and slide it back in from the rear. It's going to have to go up through the slot and then in, like so. All right, once that's in, it's good. And we can reinstall our spool, like so. And now you can hear that clicker. Okay, so I've reestablished that clicker, got it up and running again. Okay. Oh, before we put that on, we're missing a part. Our drag washer. Remember, this is brass on the back side, and it's felt on the front side, and it drops into this hole just like that. Okay, you're going to want to oil that. Keeps it from hardening up, which it's already pretty hard. Now put this on. Make sure that line's not trapped under the spool. At this point, we can take the spinner head, set it back in place, line up the D, like so, and put our big 14mm nut back on. Nope. Stand by. We're missing a part. We have to put our E-clip back in. How many of you caught that? Besides me. Now, put your spinner head back on. And you may have to hold that up with your finger, your axle shaft, to get it started. Don't cross thread it. Now we're ready to reinsert our main gear. So let's go ahead and grease up the axle shaft. And now this is where I'm going to put this pin back in, or this. Now this is where we're going to go ahead and try to put in this new button. We'll go ahead and slide it in, get it in at the top, like so. All right. Then we're going to take our main gear assembly with our handle and everything, bring it up through, and you got to make sure that that hole lines up. And it seems that it's going to work. Seems that it is. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, I need to reinstall our side plate. Now our side plate, I've got new screws for it. They're not exact matches for each other, but they are in good shape. So they should be able to be installed and removed reasonably easy. Now, this will still lift up out of there if you're not careful, but who's going to go around lifting it up? I believe it'll be okay. I could drill a hole through here and put like a cross pin in there to keep it from being able to do that, but I don't think it's necessary. I think the reel's going to be fine without doing that. All right, let's zoom back out a little bit and feed a line back through it. Screw the cap back on. Now this line is old and it needs to come off of here. All right, that's got that in place. Now, it brings us back to this handle. All right, when I went to take the handle apart to get the old knob off, it just shattered. It disintegrated into, you saw what it looked like at the beginning. Well, it didn't improve, it got worse. But I was able to find a knob, and this wasn't an easy task because if you look, here's one that I tried to make work, and it was old and it shattered. So I was able to find one though that works. The way this fits is we have this sleeve with this knurl, and it fits inside the bottom of this. Let's go ahead and oil it while we're here. It fits into the bottom of the knob like so, and there's a screw that comes in from the top of the knob. I think I just picked up the right one. Yep, this is it. Okay, and it screws into the knob like so until it bottoms out. Now, when it bottoms out, you should still have play here. Now, what I had to do, this knob did not fit this. All right, what I had to do was I had to take a drill bit and drill the hole all the way through because the center hole wasn't big enough for this. So I had to re-drill the center hole, and then the screw head wasn't big enough to fit inside the knob. So I had to take another drill bit and countersink this screw hole opening down until it got to the same level as what the this shaft was inside it. Once that was done, then we were okay. Now, this in turn will screw onto the handle here. All right, and when you screw it all the way down, like so, you now have a solid, but we still have a problem. We have a lot of problem. Something isn't right. And I know how it was supposed to be, and I didn't do it. All right, when we put this assembly back together, see these two springs? They're supposed to be hooked behind these two screws. And I didn't do that, which is why that spring was sticking out of the side and stabbed me in the finger. With them behind those screws, they can't stick out through the side. So, all right, but now none of that had anything to do with this rotor catching. All right, our C-clip went in, but it ain't right. It's not in a groove. My goodness. The groove's down a little bit further, and it's not going, the spool isn't going down far enough. So we need to take and adjust this for less and make sure that our spool goes all the way down, which it's not doing yet. Okay, let's take a look what it's hitting. All right, oh well, that's gonna be a problem. It's hitting the head of the screw. Since I put this spring on here, the screw is sticking up taller than what it would have been before. And it's not going all the way down, so I'm gonna have to take that out, modify the plastic block to shorten it so that this can go through. Okay, I shortened the block. Okay, I think that's got it down to where it's not going to hit. Let's try that. I may have to just leave it out altogether. Okay. Now my E-clip will go in, although it's just a little sprung. Okay. Put it back into place. Snap it back on. Now, there's just so many different things, especially when you're doing modifications, that was not a desired modification. That was just something I needed a clicker. There we go. Okay, let's tighten it up. Got good drag. Okay. That much closer to being done. Okay. The handle's still a little bit bent, so I got to work on fixing that. Yeah. It has a slight twist and a slight bend in. There we go. Handle's no longer bent. And that might be some of the most time I've ever spent on a reel. This is the Clipper Model 36. It came in with the button broken off, the handle rotted away, binding wouldn't fit, had mismatched screws that didn't want to come out. The anti-reverse didn't work on it, and now all of those things are fixed. So the little Clipper's not the greatest little reel. It's probably a $5 reel at best. And I spent a good 5 hours working on it. But let me tell you what, if this was somebody's childhood reel, they had one of these, and they always wanted to get one back, or they found their childhood reel and wanted to get it up and running again, hey, now they know how to do it. That's what this is about. This is taking those old reels, getting them up and running, and getting them back out there fishing again. So if you like what you saw here today, great, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more like this and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. If you have any comments, hey, I'm happy to answer. Let me know what you think. And this is Rick Stivers with YoungMartinsReels signing out.